Hey, welcome back to the Cybersecurity Whisperer, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the stories shaping our digital world. I'm your host, Elliott Franklin, and today we've got a packed lineup as usual, from AI-powered exploits to supply chain chaos, politics colliding with security, and even a showdown between Burger King and a security researcher. Buckle up, as usual, it's going to be a wild ride. So we'll start with HexStrike-AI, a red team framework designed for penetration testing that's now being abused by attackers. So within hours of Citrix NetScaler flaws being disclosed, including the critical CVE 2025-7775 that allows remote code execution, hackers turned HexStrike into a fully automated exploit engine. Instead of days or weeks to weaponize a vulnerability, AI shrunk the window to minutes. Now, Checkpoint researchers tracked chatter on underground forums showing step-by-step guides, scan for vulnerable appliances, generate payloads, deploy web shells, rinse, repeat. I mean, some actors even advertised compromised Citrix boxes for sale. So this is a sharp reminder. AI is now part of both offense and defense. And while defenders scramble to patch and deploy AI-driven detection, attackers are chaining together tools with large language models to push scale and speed like never before. Next, a campaign with a little bit of cybercrime flair. A group dubbed GhostRedirector is hijacking Windows servers in Brazil, Thailand, Portugal, and Vietnam, and their goal is SEO poisoning to drive traffic to gambling websites. Now, using SQL injection, privilege escalation exploits, and custom tools like ZoomPut, they compromise active web directories and plant backdoors. Now, one piece of malware, Gamwishin, even manipulates how Googlebot sees the site, boosting rankings for shady gambling operations. And so far, 65 servers are confirmed compromised. I mean, it's a really fascinating mix of classic techniques and new SEO manipulation, showing how cyber criminals, they don't just steal, they also hustle for clicks. Now, for some drama, a researcher known as BobDaHacker disclosed flaws in Burger King's Assistant drive-thru AI system. I mean, the system had authentication bypasses and even allowed access to employee accounts. Now, RBI, which is Burger King's parent company, they fixed the flaws within hours, but instead of thanking the researcher, they hit him with a DMCA takedown notice, claiming trademark abuse and promotion of illegal activity. Now, of course, the Streisand Effect kicked in. Security pros mirrored the report across Mastodon, complete with Barbra Streisand memes. The real kicker, the system sent passwords in plain text via email. It allowed self-signups and even stored drive-through audio. Proof again that brand management and security don't always align, and trying to silence security researchers almost always backfires. Now, open source is in the spotlight again. A hacker socially engineered an NPM developer, John Junin, into handing over credentials via a phishing email. The attacker pushed malicious updates to 18 packages with over 2 billion weekly downloads. The code swapped crypto wallet addresses and browsers, diverting funds, and so far the damage is under $1,000, but more than 2.6 million downloads of the malicious code before removal. This is yet another reminder of the fragility of open source supply chains. I mean, developers are the new phishing targets, and a single mistake can ripple out to millions of downstream users. Well, let's zoom out. After the Log4Shell crisis, governments and big tech pledged tens of millions to secure open source software, but according to Cybersecurity Dive reporting, much of that momentum, it's just fizzled. Why? Well, AI, distraction, and politics. I mean, many developers were reassigned from open source security projects now to AI initiatives. And the U.S. government has scaled back funding and lost some key CISA experts. Meanwhile, European regulators are pushing ahead with stricter open source liability rules. And so the result really is progress slowed just as supply chain attacks surged. Open source, of course, really is the backbone of modern software, but still often relies on just a handful of unpaid volunteers. So that tension, it's not going to go away anytime soon. Now, Okta researchers uncovered VoidProxy, which is a phishing service that bypasses MFA by using adversary-in-the-middle tactics. And it's been around since late 2024, and it's hitting both Microsoft and Google accounts. By proxying authentication, it captures session tokens and MFA codes, letting attackers slip past traditional defenses. Some organizations using phishing-resistant authentication like passkeys and Okta FastPass were spared, but many others saw account takeovers. And this is the latest proof that SMS codes and one-time passwords just aren't enough anymore. Well, the manufacturing sector is under fire again. Bridgestone Americas reported a limited cyber incident that disrupted several plants just days after Jaguar Land Rover faced a severe shutdown. And attribution is murky, but names like Scattered Spider, Lapsus, and Shiny Hunters are floating around. These loose, youthful collectives aren't always motivated by money alone. Notoriety plays a big role, which makes them unpredictable. So, for global supply chains which are already stretched thin, these disruptions, they hit really hard. Well, the Department of Defense officially released the long-awaited CMMC 2.0 rule, which rolls out mandatory cybersecurity certifications for contractors over the next 3 years, and more than 300,000 organizations will eventually need to comply. Now, the levels range from self-attestation for really lower-risk vendors to third-party certification for those handling sensitive data. And the message is clear. The defense industrial base has been the soft underbelly of national security for far too long. And so for small contractors, compliance could be a heavy lift, but the stakes really are high. Now, Senator Ron Wyden is urging the FTC to investigate Microsoft for what he calls negligent cybersecurity, and he points to last year's ransomware attack on Ascension Health, which compromised 5.6 million patient records. Hackers leveraged a technique called Kerberoasting, exploiting Microsoft's continued support of outdated RC4 encryption. Wyden argues that Microsoft's security practices are putting critical infrastructure at risk, and he's not alone. Federal agencies and foreign governments have issued similar warnings. Now, whether regulators act on this remains to be seen, but the scrutiny is intensifying. And finally, let's talk fraud. According to BioCatch, Money Mule networks surged 168% in the first half of 2025. Criminals are now using stablecoins like Tether and USDC to launder billions from scams and account takeovers. Stablecoins offer instant transfers with dollar parity, no volatility, no takebacks. Victims see them as digital dollars, making them more likely to comply in scams. And by mid-2025, stablecoins made up 63% of all illicit crypto transactions, a huge jump from just 15% a few years ago. I mean, it's clear fraudsters are industrializing and law enforcement is struggling to keep pace. Well, that's all for this week's Cybersecurity Whisperer. From AI tools turned against us to governments and corporations wrestling with responsibility, and the steady drumbeat of supply chain and fraud threats, one thing is clear. Cybersecurity is no longer just about the technology. It's about people, trust, and the choices we make under pressure. So, thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed today's episode, share it with your team or a fellow cyber pro. I'm Elliott Franklin reminding you, stay curious, stay cautious, and never stop whispering about security. Take care.